TRW, the Battle of Pleasant Hill game, the Red River Campaign Strategy and Tactics magazine game. So looking over the, there's just so much to experience in wargaming here. So much to experience, so much to consider, so much to comment on. Not really sure where to start, or even how to approach this, but hopefully I can get to as much as I can from what I was thinking of earlier. So let's first talk about Great Battles of the American Civil War. Of course, I'm talking about this generation of the design. As I understand it, we're talking about the Great Battles of the American Civil War game system, including Pea Ridge, Drive on Washington, Wilson's Creek, Cedar Mountain, Jackson at the Crossroads, / the Battle of Corinth, and this one, Pleasant Hill. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I guess these 6 go together. I mean, they were certainly, they were presented together in writing, so I'll go with it. So after getting my first little taste here, let me first of all just say up front, well, I guess I should comment on when things work well, when things work as planned, when things go as planned. So on that note, I can say, yeah, now I see what the big deal is. Now I see the I guess the flashes of brilliance in this system. And I don't know how else to put it, but big thumbs up, and more to the point, I can say now I see how this system will find its way into my regular gaming. I'm still not a huge fan of the scale and scope. It is too high for me. I still prefer getting down lower. And to that point, when I play a game like this, again, what I've seen here in this very, very, very early taste makes me want to play Rebel Yell again at a lower scale and scope. But looking at the rules here for Great Battles of the American Civil War, and I guess I did find in writing how I am going to be studying the Great Battles of the American Civil War standard rules, and that the game rules, again, I'm just going to be considering Pleasant Hill right now, which actually I guess I should make a point about that. Now I'm starting to think maybe I just should de-emphasize Great Battles of the American Civil War. Maybe I should de-emphasize the whole system thing. Maybe I should just talk about the game I'm playing. Yeah, I am leaning that way, so maybe I should just say Pleasant Hill. So I'm going to, for Pleasant Hill here, I'm going to study the Great Battles of the American Civil War standard rules, and then I'm going to review the Pleasant Hill rules so the Pleasant Hill exclusive rules. Let's see, add to, delete from, or expand on the series of the standard rules. So I did find in writing how that is the way that I guess I'm expected to approach this, which is good. I was thrown off when I opened up a Gleam of Bayonets and the exclusive rules. See, when I opened a Gleam of Bayonets, the exclusive rule book looked like the main rule book, and the other one labeled series rules, standard rules, look like the addition. But no, it is so. All right, boy, again, so much to say. Let me first of all say what absolutely kind of clinched it for me. So I'm looking at the again, the standard rules here for Pleasant Hill, and let me make sure, and I'm going to review this, make sure I got this right, but this is what I thought I read. So under multiple unit fire, under just normal fire combat rules for the standard rules here, Here it says, however, a unit, or I should say within any given fire phase, a unit may choose to split its fire strength, directing it at any number of target X's as long as the total combat strength is not exceeded and the rules of facing are observed. Example, this even helps me even more. An infantry regiment with a strength of 3 may fire with a strength of 1 at 3 different enemy hexes, or it may fire with a strength of 2 at one hex and 1 at another. So anyways, and so on and so forth. When I saw that, in a sense, that really clinched it for me. If the designers here, if the spirit of the design is, you know, breaking up fire, that is just that is just hitting the target for me. Just absolutely hitting the target for me. Add on to that, things like low ammo. I haven't even gotten to melee yet. Artillery gun crews, exploding caissons. Yeah, all this stuff is just, for me, excellent, and just really, again, to put it one way, hitting the target for me. So that's that. Now, I guess I'll back up a bit now. So I wanted to make it clear that I've tasted Pleasant Hill here. I wanted to make it clear that I wanted to know, okay, what's the big deal with this design? And I'm getting an idea here. It has really good level of detail for essentially move and shoot, which is great. Oh yeah, there is one. I will counter with one thing, which I will be talking about. I don't know in what order I'm proceeding here, but the sequence of play, I guess, is the one place that's, I guess, kind of disappointing. All right, I'm gonna hope to get back to the sequence of play. Let me back up again and emphasize again that, and I didn't want to go into a whole history of my gaming. I don't think there's a terrible, I don't think there's much before I started recording here anyways, but to set the scene and to comment on, again, this particular, and again, how do I put it, the TSS, Turbo Swift Sword, and TSS derived and inspired games, I guess, one way to put it. So going back many years, when let's say, again, I'm going to try to put this in, here, I'll put it this way, in the early 80s, let me make sure I got the years right here. Well, let's just say in the early 80s. If you had asked me what a war game is, I would have said it is Africa Corps by, is it Avalon Hill? I think it's Africa Corps by Avalon Hill. I would have said it was D-Day. I think it's D-Day by Avalon Hill. I would have said it was Firefight by SPI. I would have said it was maybe a few more. Luftwaffe, the bookcase game. So I guess that was Avalon Hill. Those are what I would have said. Yeah, those are war games. And then if you would have said to me, well, what do you think of, and let me make sure I get this right. Again, I want to make sure I get this right. If you had asked me, so what do you think of, where is it? Okay, maybe it's not going to be as easy as I thought. Well, okay, I guess I can't verify what I'm talking about right here now. But if you had said to me, so what do you think of Richard Berg? And I would have said, I don't know who you're talking about. And then you would have said, well, he designed Terrible Swift's sword. And I would have said, Terrible Swift what? And then if you had held up the box Terrible Swift sword, then I would have said, oh, I've seen that. I've seen pictures of that. I've seen an advertisement of that. Yeah, I recognize that box. And then you say, okay, this is Terrible Swift's sword. It was designed by Richard Berg. It, will spawn, talking about the future, it will spawn, decades of games. Okay. That is what I guess that's what I mean when I say I really approach this with no past whatsoever, for sure. And again, I was thinking really over the last year, slowly and really almost imperceptibly, these games have come into my view. Yeah, and so okay, so that's that. Again, I kind of like the Assault series. I've tasted this classic design. Did not take long to get this very strong impression. Okay, I can appreciate why. I can appreciate the whole, not only the mystique, but also the history and the influence of TSS and then GBACW, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Definitely appreciate it. And again, that's what I wanted. That's what I was after. And so in that respect, I got that. Now, wargamers today, like me, playing a game like this from decades ago. What is this? This is 30 years ago? More than 30 years ago? Playing a game like this from really a bygone era. What can I say about that? I can say almost a must, in the sense that I guess all wargamers today should try these landmark games. I guess before really, settling on their gaming preferences, I guess. Now, I won't contrast a game like this with a game that's much newer. Basically a 2000s war game. I could, but I won't. I just, again, I have to say, and I've found myself in a position to say this before a number of times. Very, very glad that I acquired. Well, I'm very glad I got A Gleam of Bayonets. So now, again, I think of newer GBACW and I think of older GBACW. Newer is basically GMT, older is pre-GMT. So now I own at least a couple of the newer ones, because I know I have Twin Peaks and I know I have the GMT, what is it, Dead of Winter? I think that's it. Have those, haven't played them yet. And now I have a couple of the older ones, because I have A Gleam of Bayonets, and I now have Pleasant Hill. So I'm very, very glad that I have, and that I got a hold of an unpunched copy, by the way, of A Gleam of Bayonets. Very, very happy that I have that. Happy that I have it in my collection, and I do see pulling out this system and playing it into the future. Now, I want to talk about sequence of play. Again, if I had to say one really disappointing area, it would be the sequence of play. Now, let me emphasize here that it's not that I don't like the sequence of play. The sequence of play is fine. The game here, I like the game. But the game and the sequence of play, to me, they don't match. They really don't match. the sequence of play, which, you know, just to review what we're talking about, we are talking about a first player turn followed by a second player turn, a player turn being identical, or both player turns being identical, 9 phases, your initial command phase, which, by the way, okay, there's a final command phase. So you have initial command phase, you have movement, defensive fire, offensive fire, retreat before melee phase, ammunition resupply phase, rally phase, and final command phase. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. But for me, and I know that this is going to probably reflect more where I came from gaming rather than gaming more broadly speaking, wargaming more broadly speaking. This might as well be Divisions on the East Front, World War II. The sequence of play. The sequence of play doesn't, like I said, it doesn't match. Regimental units, but just plain and simple, this scale and scope, whatever, 20-minute turns, 120 yards per hex, that is too low for this sequence of play, so to speak. Or, to flip it around, to be at this scale and scope, things wouldn't look this structured, and they certainly wouldn't look structured in this way at all. So I'll say that probably should have a sequence of play that matches better for the scale and scope. And that led me to wonder if you couldn't actually take this earlier generation of GBACW. I wonder if you couldn't, and I'm not implying that I would take the time to do this at all. I think I'd just do it with a fresh design, but still, I'll say maybe you could take a sequence of play inspired more by the Death Ride series from GSI and use that for this scale and scope. Basically meaning, again, to emphasize, wow, I think I have my top 5. I should make a video of that. The Death Ride series has a very open, structured operations phase where most stuff happens within the operations phase, and the operations phase is defined by or characterized by players being able to do all their different kinds of actions in whatever order they want. I mean, I still think that might make this game really, really take it to a whole new level. If you're, moving and firing your cannons and charging in for melee, trying to retreat from melee, resupplying, and blah. That all, again, in a free-flowing, player-defined kind of way, again, inspired, to my mind, by the whole Death Ride series by GSI. That might be really cool.